Be like 8 seconds worth or something like that.
Yeah. Boom. Anyway, as I was saying, just if you're listening in, folks, we got Arjuna here back. Well, if you are, of course you're listening. Obviously, you won't hear this, but we got Arjuna back, and we've been talking about The Who and listening to The Who songs. But Mark's cut it out because we're not allowed, because the powers that be don't let you play stuff.
I'm sure The Who wouldn't mind.
Roger Daltrey, is it? I give him a bow. Do you know him, Mark? Is he a Doncaster lad? Yeah, just give him a bow. So can we use that as the intro of the podcast from now on? That little segment.
He's downstairs. I'll go get him.
Downstairs. So anyway, welcome back, Arjuna.
Thank you very much. Thanks for... Yeah.
Good to have you back.
Yeah.
The reason we got you back is because last time you came in, I think I spoke through 95% of the podcast.
I listen too much, talk not enough.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe, mate. But it's good to have you back. What have you been up to? Come on, tell me. You're looking svelte.
Well, thank you. You too. Very tanned. Yep.
Training.
Yeah. I have one of those pull-up bars in my doorway, and I just do a couple every now and then.
A couple? Every now and then?
Yeah. Every time I pass through.
Yeah, how often do you pass through?
Well, quite a few.
Yeah. So what have you been up to? Go on, tell me. You've been running, I know that.
Oh, yeah. I've discovered a love of running. It's, yeah, a good thing. It just feels amazing to go wild places fast, skipping over rocks, and yeah, it feels good.
It's funny you should say that, because that's not how I describe my running. Going through wild places fast, skipping along.
Yeah.
I'm just like breathing heavy, moaning about how much my back hurts, checking the time, shouting the dog. You haven't got a dog, have you?
No.
Do you go run on your own?
Yeah.
How far?
Maybe, just on a day to maybe 8 miles, 10 miles. Yeah. Sometimes faster, sometimes slower, but yeah.
8 miles? I feel like I'm grilling you now, but okay, what's your pace like? What's your...
You mean in terms of numbers?
Yeah, not in like a subjective fashion. Like, yeah, my pace is fast. I'd say I'm quite fast to middling. What is it in like miles? What is it? Minute? Yeah. How many miles a minute do you do, or whatever?
Well, so I live in Yorkshire Dales, so it's either up or down or through a bog. So it depends. If I'm going up, it's usually what I call a power hike. I think that's the official term.
What's the minute per mile though? How long does it take you to cover a mile?
13, 14-minute miles.
Right. What about when you're going down?
Yeah, 8-minute miles. Yeah.
You're living the dream. Did you?
It's not about the numbers.
No, I just made it about the numbers. Did you do a big run recently?
Yeah, it was called a marathon. It was 24 miles.
So you've done a marathon?
Yeah. Well, marathon's 26, but yeah, this had quite a bit of up and quite a bit of down. I
was at home the other week. I don't know if I've talked about this. And my niece was up. She loves running. And she was on about the Paris Marathon and the London Marathon. And Bianca said, is the Paris Marathon as long as the London Marathon?
The French to make it shorter. When...
So they're kind of the same distance, I think. Someone's probably going to write in. Actually, technically, they're not the same distance.
Where are the White Cliffs of Dover?
Yeah. So, what did you... No, go on. Go on, ask me.
So Tour de France, back in the day. Now, I was told this on Instagram, but apparently it's true. Back in the day, the riders could just stop off at any cafe, help themselves to what they wanted, jump back on their bikes and go.
It's like that in Doncaster. I'm a big deal up here now. I walk by and people just like throwing croissants at me, and I can't tell you, mate. It's like I can just take what I want. Yeah. Go in at Marks and Spencer's, take the best sandwiches they got, and they're like, yeah, you with Mark?
That's all yours. Take another one.
See you later. Oh, take one for him as well. Yeah, it's brilliant. But what made you do a marathon then? And was it at night or something? You've got to tell me about this.
No. It was just on my doorstep. And
big doorstep.
On my Dale doorstep. It was just one of those things I'd been meaning to do, see if I could do it. I was a little bit uncertain. So I thought, let's give it a go. Let's do some training, see what happens.
Did you train hard for it?
I trained as hard as I could, but having kids, there was a lot of sort of kettlebell hit sessions pretending to be running training.
Sometimes you just got to do what you got to do, though, don't you?
Exactly.
Obviously, you don't do anything. So you just thought, I like that. You just thought you'd have a go because you didn't know whether you could do it.
Yeah.
Do you ever feel like, I go through these periods of my life where I'm like, maybe I need to test myself a bit. It's amazing how we always lean back to the physical element, though.
Yeah.
Pretty much all people. I don't know, maybe it's not, I can't speak for women because I don't know if you know this, but I'm not one. But I can speak as a red-blooded male and say, I think a lot of men tend to go back to physical challenge as a way of almost feeling like I need to get myself out of my comfort zone. I wonder if there's some kind of... You're nodding and you're like, I don't know what you play. I don't know, Si, what you're going to say, but I'm agreeing already. I'm struggling to express it. I don't know if there's some kind of, not urge, but kind of something inside of you that goes, right, I need to test myself somehow. I need to
prove
do
myself.
something. Yeah.
Yeah.
But have you observed that? I mean, you work with the army and things like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, personally, I used to be right down that particular alley. And I'm not sure, I think I've mellowed, maybe just getting older, but I think there was something about feeling better in myself when I tried to do a hard thing, did something that scared me.
Yeah.
I think it was to do with proving my own existence in a fact, or maybe it was the peace that came afterwards. But
back in the day, this was.
Yeah.
I did this marathon compared to, how did Arjuna at 49, giving your age away? I mean, you don't look 49, but how did the experience of doing a marathon when you weren't quite sure, you weren't quite prepared, possibly, you've been swinging a kettlebell, doesn't sound like the best preparation to me. I'm no expert. I thought you might have to actually do some running, maybe.
Yeah.
How did that compare to that challenge, to say when you were stuck down that rabbit hole?
Yeah, it's hard to say because I can't go back in time and see what I was thinking. But
you can't do that?
No, unfortunately.
What kind of monk are you?
I know old me was a bit more angsty, do you know?
Yeah.
And it would be those 10-day Buddhist Vipassana courses would appeal because it was silence and it was, I'm going to smash my head through the brick wall of my own ego kind of thing. Do you know?
I know exactly what. We were talking about that a little bit in the coffee shop, though.
Yeah.
Where sometimes it's easy to get wrapped up in the darkness of your character and almost not glamorize it, not wallow in it, but like, you know, the tortured poet. Like, we like to be the tortured poet, and it's like we can get, yes, I need to do something outrageous to smash through my dark self.
Yeah. I mean, maybe everyone has their inner David Goggins, but when I was young, there was a guy, Henry Rollins. He was in a punk band called Black Flag, and he was the same kind of deal, just like twisted, tormented. He would write endless poetry and pump out books every 2 months.
It makes great art, but I don't know if it makes for a
good life.
A good life, does it? You know, like, oh God.
Yeah.
But I think there's this thing. I noticed this. I was contemplating this in myself somewhat, where I was down that path of constant, I got to challenge myself in some way. But then I kind of veered away from it. And I don't know whether I veered across to the other side where you're like,
too little.
Yeah, fuck it, I'm not going to challenge myself at all. Who am I trying to prove something to?
Yeah.
And I think I'm kind of swinging back to the middle a little bit. You know, I suppose you're describing that a little bit as well. I don't think you can exist on one end.
No.
Solely, surely.
Well, we were also talking about intuition, you know, when something feels right. And I think you feel your way through life and that you swing from one side, no, that's not quite right, to the other. And do you know?
Yeah. I also think I've shared this before, but it's very easy to get caught up in challenges that help you avoid other challenges. But I don't think we know we're doing that. I think it's a form of protection. I was talking to someone recently, they won't mind me sharing this, in the sense that they're like, I'm a bit stuck, you know, not quite sure. where I just don't feel like things are really moving for me. So you sit there and say, tell me how you're getting on. How's your financial goals? That was important. Yeah, doing all I can, doing well. Not quite at the max end, but, doing well. So that's brilliant. I thought, well, that's progress, I feel like I need to challenge myself physically. Well, how are you getting on physically? Well, I'm actually doing pretty good. I've set myself to do 5 races. I've done 4 already. Like everything's improved. I was like, wow, it sounds like you're really challenging yourself, making nice progress. Yeah. How's your relationship? Yeah. And it was like, there was no mention of that previously. And it was like, that was the area. I was like, is that the area of the biggest transformation available to you? Yeah. But we weren't talking about it. We were talking about these other 2 that were going really well and how we need to make them go really weller. And it was like, sometimes you notice that in coaching is this subtle way of just sweeping that one under the carpet.
Yeah.
But I think you'll always feel unfulfilled chasing the 2 that you're already doing all right in.
Yeah.
If you're not dealing with the thing you need to deal with.
Well, it's easy, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a challenge, but it's easy. You know it. Yeah. Stuff like relationships or money seems to be, I have no idea. It's this deep end and it's scaring me. So let's go run an ultra marathon.
And I think I've asked a question on Facebook recently on purpose. Well, who asked a question by accident, but on purpose. I did it on purpose. You wouldn't believe it. Normally I just do it by accident.
I thought about it.
I didn't mean to ask that question. but I asked this, and it was like, what's the biggest form of stress in your life?
Yeah.
And I tell you what, the amount of honesty on there, because I don't like to do the whole let's ask a question every 5 minutes to get some interaction kind of shit. I'm going to ask a question if I really want to know the answer. And it was like, really like a lot of people, now of course, when you ask a question like that, you find you attract a lot of people just feeling a bit sorry for themselves, which is fine. But a lot of people were like, the biggest form of stress is, the worry about my kids, or maybe their kids were struggling with something. Money, huge. Sometimes health, other people, a lot of people are like, other people, do my head, and you're like, oh, okay, maybe that's a you thing, not, not them.
Everybody's
thing.
an idiot.
Yeah, everyone's an idiot. The world's out to get me kind of mentality. But there was a lot of stuff on there, and I thought, you talk about dealing with stress. No amount of jumping in an ice bath is going to take your money issues, going to stop you worrying about your kid. That's a different skill set altogether, isn't it? And do we teach them to people? Do you know what I mean? Does anyone sit you down and say, we probably should talk about money. It's going to be a big part of your life.
Yeah, that is true. I remember we had like 3 classes at school. This is money and this is interest, and there you go on.
Well, I never even had that.
Yeah.
I think your relationship with money can tell you a lot about your relationship with most things when you think about it. Yeah. But the whole challenging yourself, again, you can go run around the world, but if you haven't dealt with your money issues or you're not facing up to that, is that a challenge or is that avoidance?
Yeah. Yeah.
What are you avoiding, Arjuna? What were you running away from? But I think I'm on a similar thing at the minute with physical stuff. I just thought, you know what? I used to be really fit and strong. And I'd allowed myself, I've been talking about it a lot on the podcast, to just slowly but surely.
That little slide into, comfortable slide.
Yeah. And there's always reasons. Life's busy. Work's busy. I was doing enough. I was just doing enough to sort of, but then all of a sudden it's amazing how that enough becomes not enough. Where you're like, okay, I'm not doing enough now.
Yeah.
And I can't get away with what I used to be able to do when I was younger, where I'd come home from training, Mum would say, I've made you some dinner, brilliant. She'd go, I've made you pizza, rice, chicken. Like, I'd just come home and have a buffet of
3 piles of,
and I could just eat it all, and I was getting big, and you're like, wow. Now I just look at it and you go,
no,
it's not happening. You need to eat really clean. But I'm on that little train at the minute. Maybe I should find a physical challenge. On a serious note, what benefits did you think you got from that?
I think just having a date in the diary, any date in the diary helps, because it just makes me go, oh, cool. I really want to go for a run because I want to make it as easy as possible in the future. Or I just booked some workshops and just having those dates and go, oh yeah, I want to promote those. I want to tell people about them. And I think there's something for me, at least, about having that future. It just galvanizes my thinking, efforts, everything. It's like everything's focused towards that. So,
what about the physical challenge itself?
The doing of the marathon
running.
the other
Was
day.
it a challenge? Were you like,
Oh yeah. But the biggest challenge was not so much the physical, just keeping present. You know, because the plan was in the beginning was to stick to a certain pace, and of course everybody was going out far too fast and passing me. Little old ladies were passing me, and it was like, oh, the tendency just to kick off and go after them was huge. But the payback at the end in the last 10 miles was fantastic because I was just passing everybody out.
Yeah.
So that little lift was immense. But yeah, it just the mindfulness, the complete being where my feet were, not at the top of the hill, not at the finish line, but right here. That was the, I can't do this. Well, stop thinking about what you can't do and start, you know.
What do you do when you do that, right? So I'm running along. Well, I'm not. I don't run anywhere. But let's just say I am running along. And then I'm like, I can't do this. This is a waste of time. What's the point?
Yeah.
Can't be bothered halfway through, you know.
Yeah.
I suppose you've got to keep going in it. Wait, who says you have to keep going? You could have stopped, turned around and went home, couldn't you?
Yeah. I mean, I've done that when things are it's obvious I'm too knackered.
But what keeps you going? So I'm thinking these things because I think people think that about anything. Can't be bothered with this, can't be bothered with that. Like what? And like, no, I really want to do this. Like, you know, like I'm not just like, this isn't actually me going, actually, maybe I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
Maybe you really do want to do it. How do you stop that chatter from taking over?
I think you just be, I mean, it's been said so many times, it's a cliche, right? Be present. Get out of your mind, into your body, into your senses. But after you do that for a while, you recognize that there's a presence that is aware of the present moment. And it becomes easy to become almost like an octopus withdrawing its tentacles, like a tortoise pulling itself in. So you're not so much aware of the present moment, but you're aware of who is aware.
On that note, folks.
And that makes it easier.
So you're saying, I'm trying to visualize this.
Yeah. Well, maybe do it. It's easier.
I'm trying to visualize it. So you're saying rather than just be present, so right now I am present.
Yeah.
I'm talking to you. I'm plugging into this microphone. I'm hearing, I'm plugging into my senses. Go beyond that and become aware of who's aware.
Yeah. Be aware of your being, your existence, the one that's listening, watching, feeling the chair beneath you.
Yeah, so not just feeling the chair, aware of who is feeling the chair, what's feeling the chair, whatever you want to describe that as.
Yeah. I mean, you can be aware of the chair, and that's fantastic.
I'm aware of the chair right now.
You're a chair.
Well, I wasn't aware of the chair 30 seconds ago, but now I'm aware of the chair, and I'm like, it's quite hard, this chair.
But when you shift back to the awareness that you are, that's a noticeable difference from the being aware of the chair.
Yeah. And how would somebody start to notice that? That isn't, surely, we've had these conversations a million times, me and you, about different things. Surely that's not a 5-minute thing, is it, for most people? Or is it literally, no, you can do it right now. Here's how you do it. Step 1, step 2, step 3. Or is it a building up of getting so present over time that you can sort of go beyond that?
Both. I mean, I used to pick up books and I'd read a passage and it would transport me right back to presence. But it took something exterior to remind me, or it took someone walking me through something like that. And I'd be like, oh yeah, there I am. And then of course it would slip away. I would become more aware of my mind to the extent I got lost in that and forgot who that sense of being. And so a practice is necessary.
A practice, of course, which is why you ascend.
Yeah.
Surely.
Yeah.
One of the reasons. So if someone's listening to this right now, they're listening, I imagine they're driving along in a car, maybe they're in the shower, who knows, maybe they're just staring at YouTube. And I'm like, right, how would they become aware of the awareness right now?
Just by doing that.
By doing what?
By noticing. I mean, it's always, the first step is always to get out of your head. So notice now. So notice that, like, be involved in the senses.
So senses first.
Yeah.
Get into the senses.
Yeah.
Pay attention to what you're paying attention to, in a sense.
Exactly, yeah. And so you can notice the things, the sunlight on your face, the smell of the cooking that you're doing, the road in front of you, the chair you're sitting on.
Your voice right now?
My voice, yeah. Sound seems to be a particularly useful one. Just to really listen, to really notice all the sounds.
And is the key there to notice without any kind of, oh God, that car outside, you know? Is it like you're just listening with no judgment, so to speak?
Yeah. I mean,
whether it should or shouldn't be there.
Yeah, that's the byproduct.
Right.
Because then you're in your head again. You're not actually noticing. You're not actually listening. You're thinking. And that distinction becomes more and more obvious. Yeah. But yeah, if you're going,
you're thinking about listening.
You're not
as
actually
opposed
listening.
to listening.
Yeah.
So I'd start with my senses.
Yeah.
I'm plugged in right now, Arjuna. Yeah. I'm hearing your voice. I'm feeling my hand on the table.
Yeah. You can notice now. Notice that now is happening. And that's a little bit more subtle. But there's a distinct experience of now occurring. And it's interesting because it's not like a tick of seconds. It's a bit more spacious, a bit more clear and continual than clock ticks. And if you really let now be enough, not by thinking about it, but by really noticing it, you'll notice it has a presence, if you like, that you can notice you. And really not you in terms of a body or thoughts, but you as a presence, you as a being, you as just the pure fact of your existence.
More of a feeling than a thought.
Could be, yeah.
I've often thought this with our conversations. I find it much easier to like feel a sense of myself than to notice a sense.
Yeah.
You kind of hearing what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I don't know if that's the whole kinesthetic audio-visual styles of learning or whether that's where language falls down and that how we relate to presence in the present moment is beyond words, is beyond thinking.
Well, yeah, if I'm thinking about it, I'm in my head again, right?
Yeah, but the words we use is feeling, or I can remember it, I can
I see
be
how
it.
we describe it, you're saying.
Yeah. The map is not the territory.
I can always feel that. If I sit, close my eyes, and I'm like, whoa, maybe I don't close my eyes, a few breaths, and all of a sudden, I will ascend, so to speak. If you listen to that, doesn't mean I'm like ascending into it's like a practice. But I'm almost like, okay, get out of the way. Oh, there I am.
Yeah.
That's how it feels to me.
Yep.
Like, oh, there I am.
There you are. Yeah.
And it's a feeling. It's not. It's like a sense of like, oh, there I am.
Yeah.
But that sense seems to build out almost to like, oh, there everything is, isn't it? I feel. I don't want to cheapen this, but it feels the way I always. It's like the Force in Star Wars. In a sense.
Yeah.
You're like, if you get out of the way, you just feel like I seem to feel this really never-ending space or subtleness.
Yeah.
It's hard to, you can't describe, it's so hard to, you're smiling at me and nodding because I think it's so hard to describe. It's like, oh, there it is.
Yeah.
But when I'm rushed and stressed or, caught up in kind of narratives and in my head, I'm as far away from that as possible.
Yeah. And yet when someone reminds you or you remind yourself, it's a light switch away.
Yeah, like to the point where sometimes you sit, I'm sure a lot of people listen to this might meditate, and you sit and you don't even know you're thinking. And so you're thinking.
Yeah.
And you're like, and literally the word, thinking for me just stops it.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I was thinking. I'm like, oh, thinking. Not like, oh, thinking, oh, God, thoughts. And it's almost like, oh, well done, you noticed.
Mm-hmm.
But isn't it mad? That can go on for 10, 15
Yeah.
minutes, just regurgitating something from your day. But isn't the skill, not the skill, but is a step really where you go, oh, I'm aware I'm thinking, but I'm not caught up in it.
Yeah.
So sometimes I can almost be like, oh, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
But I know I'm thinking about this and it's kind of just burning away in my mind. It's not really bothering me.
Yeah.
And it's sort of it almost feels like an unraveling.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, it's kind of done now. Oh, here I am again.
Yep.
But I remember saying to you, I mean, it's almost like you're like, oh, I'm not my thoughts. Like and you feel like it has to be like the absence of thoughts. But then I kind of was like, oh no, it's not the absence of thoughts. There is thoughts, but I'm always here behind it all.
Yep. Underneath, everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think a lot of people, I think when you talked about meditation, they're like, I can't meditate.
Yeah.
I just can't stop my mind. So, well, you don't have to.
No. No. It makes it so much easier, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think it was just is it, I always find this stuff hard to describe because it almost feels like, how can you not get that? But not like, oh, how can you not get that? It's like, I can't describe it because it's almost non-describable to me.
Yeah. Well, it is. It is. It's beyond words. And yet, when you sit in presence, you can let the words come and it can describe itself, which is a hard thing for when we're used to thinking about the thing in order to describe it. It's getting completely out of the way so it can describe itself. So it's going so far beyond thought that, we're all sitting on chairs, but they vanish. They just go. They're a structure that helps and yet ultimately unnecessary for us as a being.
Yeah, but do humans always we want to label, we want to...
Oh, yeah.
We want...
Understand, get it right.
I want to understand this.
Yeah.
And I want to be able to describe this.
Yeah.
I want a label for this.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why people find it's such a hard concept to grasp because...
Yeah. But we do it. We do it with a cold beer. Do you know, how could you possibly, or your coffee, you have to taste it. You can't, you have tasting notes, but you've read tasting notes and gone, this is not related to the flavor of beer.
Well, we've just spent a good 5 minutes in the coffee shop trying to describe what was in a Desperado.
Yeah.
I was like, what is in that Desperado? It caused chaos across the coffee shop. I don't know. I think it's tequila. It's quite strong. I was like, mate, Desperado is the drink of the summer.
Yeah. But the menu is not the meal, and so the ingredients is not the taste. The words is not the experience, and so you'll so much rather pick up a beer than talk about it. Maybe you'll throw one back and then go, man,
I don't know, Arjuna.
Nice.
To be honest, we're an anti-alcohol podcast.
There we go. Okay, coffee.
You can't drink if you want to perform at your best. I don't know if you know that.
That's what the Henry Rollins ex-disciple used to think. Yeah.
Really?
Oh, me? Yeah, I was straight edge,
You can't drink, Arjuna, and don't drink caffeine at all.
Yeah, no stimulants.
No, because you can't be a performer and do that.
Yeah. It's
You know
true.
what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think, Mark? He's just laughing.
Yeah.
I want a beer. I want to have a beer with
we
some
go.
guests.
Yeah.
Should we get one at lunch?
Didn't you buy that Desperado?
No, I was trying to get him to give it us. I was like, I would take it off your hands and test
Don't you
it
know
out.
who I am?
Yeah. I mean, normally they just give me stuff. Somebody must pay for it. But yeah. No, you are right. It's weird. We don't feel the need to describe the beer either, do we? We just drink it. God, it tastes good. We don't need to go, well, what does it taste of? And how does it taste? And what's my experience of the taste? We just go, that tastes good.
Yeah.
Whereas with this, we're like, well, what is it? What's the experience? We want to try and describe. It's an odd concept that we do that. Yeah. Go on. You were
I was just going to say, in terms of usefulness to people, I mean, why should someone care? It's the very question that we started with is, well, I can't. And we have so many I can'ts or I should have's and all that limitation or regret that we put on ourselves. When you go beyond that into presence, that's such a place of ease, of eternal all is well. And so you're faced with problems. What about my kids? What about my relationship, my money issues, and all that stuff? And it takes the angst away from stuff you have no control over. You know, it gives you a place to stand.
Do you think sometimes people can use it as a form of avoidance?
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, because I always think, you know, when you open your eyes and you're clearer and crisper and you realize, okay, everything's right now, doesn't mean you all of a sudden don't go and deal with the issues.
Oh, yeah. No. Yeah.
But I think we've all fallen in that trap sometimes of like, I don't know if you have, but I know I possibly have in the past where you're like, well, all is well.
Yeah.
Why would I even bother dealing with that?
Yeah.
But it needs dealing with.
Yeah. I still have to take my rubbish bin out. It doesn't matter how great I feel. If I don't, it's going to spill over.
Yeah, you just have to deal with the stuff that needs dealing with.
Yeah. But I think you do it from a different place. You don't do it from... I often talk about the difference between needing something to happen or avoiding something so hard your head in the sand. I need this to be this way and then I can be happy. If I don't look at this, I'll be happy because I'm not looking at it, you know? And really, from this place, you come from a place, it becomes more, for want of a better word, divinely inspired, higher self-inspired. So you don't need it to be happy because you're perfectly content with the way things are. And yet you're interested, you're curious. You're like, oh, I'm going to book on that marathon. I'm interested to see if I can do it, what sort of experience I'll have, who I'll meet, all this stuff.
What would you say some of the... you look at, because sometimes life is hard, right?
Yeah.
You know, so somebody might be grieving or, you know, in the midst of some real issues in life, like some real, like, fucking hard. Life is not good.
Yeah.
When we get, you know, like you're saying, okay, if I can sit, if I can get beyond all that, where does that help with that? Do you know what I mean? Because where does someone hear that, well, life's good right now, and go, no, it's really not.
Yeah.
It's really not good. Like, it's really hard.
Yeah.
It's really crap.
Yeah.
You know, I suppose the question I'm trying to ask you is, if someone said to you, well, no, it's not good, Arjuna. It's rubbish. Look at this. Look at my life. It's a mess. How do we approach that? If someone, I'm sure somebody must have said that to you.
Oh,
I mean, you go
time.
into the army, so I'm sure there's a lot of resistance sometimes to a character like you at the start.
Yeah.
Not that you're not a lovely person, but you know, to be stereotypical, I'm sure I'm like, okay, there's a clash there of personalities, probably.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the first thing is I've learned not to go and say, hey, all's well. This is perfect exactly as it is. It's unfolding beautifully.
Yes.
Because you get a punch in the face and rightfully so. There's people there who have been falsely accused of legal stuff, who are going through awesome, terrible breakups of, you know, they've just realized they've got Huntington's and they're probably going to die or have some sort of dementia in the next 10 years and their mum's going through it right now. Do you know, all these things, these big challenges. But I think we have such a framework of I should and I shouldn't, as in, you know, there's so much grief, so much anger, so much frustration, and that I shouldn't be this way. And everyone's holding it together so hard, they just don't allow if there is grief to be there or anger and frustration to just like let it cleanly through.
I love that, yeah.
To get the help and support and say, you know what, I remember when my mum was dying, just every now and then just being swept up in this wave of grief. She's going, there's not a thing I can do about it. And picking up the phone and talking to my buddies, and just that alone was enough for that fire hose burst to go.
Are you saying, I feel like I'm interviewing a politician. Are you saying then that when we hold on so tight as this shouldn't be happening, this is unfair, this is not right, how could life do this to me, how could they do that to me? When we hold on tightly to that, it makes it impossible to move beyond it.
Yeah. This is the way a man deals with it. This is the way all that. Because, you know, a lot of the soldiers are men, and there's this idea as a man, and then da-da-da-da. And I'm like, well, any sentence that starts with "as a man."
But do you think they possibly need a different mindset sometimes to the mindset that, you know, gets you through war and conflict? Is not the mindset that helps you happily navigate Doncaster town centre on a Saturday morning. You know, or maybe it is. Mark might say different. No, you need that mindset, mate. You got to get crack on through there.
But especially business and especially army, especially sports people, it's about compartmentalizing. Do you know, it's like, I can't deal with it right now. Push it out. Just focus on what I can do.
I think there's different mindsets for different things. I would say that, you know, it's like, what's a good mindset? It's like, well, the mindset that gets you on in business probably isn't the mindset that makes you a great parent on times. There's certain things that certainly transcend and move across, but, you know, I think you often sometimes need to approach the different compartments of your life with a slightly different set of thinking. So, but what you said though, that when you let go and you can let it all out and stuff, I think that is the problem. When we say should, shouldn't, can, all this stuff, why is this happening to me? Which I'm sure we all do. There's people listening to us thinking, God, that's me. It doesn't get any better by resisting it, does it?
No.
So when you can say, actually, this is how it is, and just allow that, that is where a lot of emotional turbulence moves through, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. And the fact is we create so much emotional turbulence because we think too much about it. We go into the what ifs and this means and I can't do that anymore. And we lose the present moment. We lose present.
There's nothing wrong with going to the future, is there, to make a plan? You did it. You said it at the start.
Absolutely.
Like, hey, I've set a goal in the future.
Yeah. I got here this morning.
Yeah, like to go to the future and think, well, that could happen.
Yeah.
What could I do about that if it did?
Yeah.
Create a plan and come back. But then don't live there.
Yeah.
Don't live in the future. Oh my God, because, you know, it might not happen.
Yeah.
And if it does, you can only deal with it when it happens. But to be prepared, like going back to the past is great, I think, to learn and to maybe sometimes find meaning in the things that we maybe haven't dealt with. But you don't live there.
No. And that actual planning and learning, it takes a heartbeat, really.
Yeah, it does, yeah. And I think there's only so much thinking you can do around certain things.
And that's the thing. If I think about it one more time, maybe I'll find a different answer, an answer I like.
Is that because we don't like the answers we're finding? Is the thing, isn't
Often,
it?
yeah.
We spoke in the coffee shop just briefly, didn't we, about stress, and I spoke about it on the end. We were just talking about, you know, you said, what was that, Matt, on about when you're clearing through?
Oh yeah, the limbic clearing.
The limbic clearing, you know, and how we store all these things in us. And I was saying, what? Do you remember when I you know, you were guiding me through my ascension for a period, and I was like, Arjuna, I'm being sick when I meditate. Do you remember that?
I do, yeah.
I would sit, you know, do my thing, get present, and it was literally like, oh my God. I was like, I just couldn't help it. It wasn't like I was panicking. It was like I'd got so present. It's like my nervous system was saying, out you go.
Purge.
It was like, wasn't you were like, oh, yeah.
That's pretty wild though.
Yeah, but like, crack on. Just let it happen. Yeah. And it kind of went on. And then again, I've noticed when I've gone through periods of life where you think, God, I'm obviously holding on to a lot here. Because sometimes you have to in life, right? To get through certain things. Sometimes you've got to hold on a bit tight. Yeah. When I've gone, got out of the way. I had it, you know, last year. All of a sudden, it was like, wow, this is like, I can feel this moving through me. And I think you share this a lot when you get present, the twitching. It's just the nervous system
unwinding,
isn't it?
Yeah.
There's a lot of stress in the world now.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. But people do seem to be holding on tight, don't we?
Yeah.
And I think it's this habit that we think we have to just grit our teeth, and sometimes you do, but I always think there's people go through things where sometimes you've got to grit your teeth and crack on. But as a way of life, sometimes we forget, okay, maybe I don't have to grit my teeth anymore.
Yeah. But even
letting go's hard.
Yeah, I like the metaphor of walking through a busy city street. I mean, you don't get your shoulders out and your elbows out and try and smash your way down. You know, you duck and you weave, and I mean, that's the fastest way, the smoothest way. And I'm fascinated with boxers and martial artists and stuff because they don't go in angry, do they? They go in loose and wide open, and you know, it's a different kind of.
What if you're going angry? You're soon wild, aren't you?
Yeah, yeah. And I think it's the same with life. That kind of, you don't have to fight or even grip your way to keep on top of this. I mean, going back to my mum's death again, the grief there was, I was waiting for it because there was a couple of phone calls, and then, but the line between, and I mean, she was alive for about 6 months. There was this line between, she's alive, she's in front of me, I can do something for her, I can go mow the lawns, bring her a cup of tea, whatever. And chaos was so sharp that it meant, if I started thinking about the future, if I started thinking about how she's looking worse, if I started thinking, how much longer is she going to be alive? Because I want to go back home to my life, you know, both sides of that. It was so painful, it made me sit on the right side of that line.
Almost like an alarm bell.
Oh, yeah, like a bottomless pit of despair. And I can't remember why I just started talking about.
Well, do you think
that.
maybe sometimes I was thinking while you were talking, do you think sometimes why is it so easy to fall into that thinking? That's the thing, isn't it? It's like easy. It's just not. It's so easy to just find yourself just going crazy about the future or the past. It's not so easy to find yourself here, is it?
Yeah.
And do you think? I think there's a belief often that we think nothing can change, surely, if I don't make it change.
Yeah.
And that if I want to create change and be this catalyst for change, then I can't. How could I possibly passively accept what's going on?
Yeah.
There's that belief, I think, isn't there? Like, it's almost like, well, passively, you know, maybe stopping fighting what these scenarios is actually us giving up.
Yeah. Being a doormat.
Well, you know, what would you say to that? Because I know what I sort of think about that.
Yeah. Well, I think it's just putting far too much energy into stuff that you can't do anything about right now. You know, that whole Stoic serenity prayer idea of not having the serenity to accept the things you can't change. I got to think about this, and I have to find a way because it's my responsibility, and I've got to somehow push my way through the crowd of disaster to find my way through. And I don't think you do.
No, I think actively working on the things in your life is important.
Yeah.
Like I'm a man, I talk about all the time. We're talking about all the time. When are you avoiding, you know, like when are you avoiding doing the work in your life? I'm a big fan of like this, well, not a big fan, but I suppose I talk a lot recently about a daily habits, you know, really the thing that's going to change your life. And I realize that sounds people like, what's he on about? Like, I'm like, really? Is that what's going to change your life? You know, drinking a bit more water, is that life changing? Or is that just giving you the ability to go and do the things that change your life? You know, so I've been toying with all this stuff. But I suppose just to switch kind of topic quickly, not topic, but tangent.
Yeah.
When I look at, there's a difference between actively trying to improve your life and just fight against and build what you want. That's what I'm trying to say. There's a difference between trying to build what you want to see in life and just fight against everything you don't want to see.
Yeah.
There's a subtle difference, isn't there?
Yeah.
It's like, am I working on what I want to happen, or am I fighting what I don't want to happen?
Yeah.
And I sometimes don't think you can tell the difference till you experience it. So people say, oh, I don't want to be stressed anymore. I don't want to be stressed. That's very different to like, I want to be calm. And that's a different energy, a different angle, a different approach.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't want to be here. It's very different to, I'd like to be here.
Yeah. You're right.
And in our mind, I think we do a lot, but like, I don't want to be experiencing this. And I think you have to, like you said, but it's an alarm bell. Like, why am I fighting what I don't want? Why am I fighting what I can't control? And the mind is a funny old place. You know, I'm driving up here on the way to Doncaster, and I can have some of the weirdest thoughts, like trails of thought about crazy crap that's never going to happen. It's like, I'm just creating these scenarios in my head and what I'd do if it happened. You're like, what am I on about? But I think sometimes we just don't notice and we flip and live there.
Yeah. Do you think
We commented on this just walking through Doncaster a little bit, didn't we? A lot of people walking around just seem to have the weight of the world on their shoulders.
You can see it in the cells of the face. Yeah, the skin.
You're just like, wow, you just look like,
Yeah.
and we can't, there's 100 people there. We can't all be having the worst day ever. I can't imagine everyone there was really unhappy, but maybe we just don't notice. Just trundling along, thinking about work. Oh, I'll get there. There's not a lot of smiling going on, was there?
No. Do you think it's related to, the whole sympathetic nervous system and fight, flight, freeze and being in threat and the whole brain focusing on what the next thing is to remove your happiness and your goals?
I just think, what a question. I don't think we know we're doing it.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
And that sounds like but I just don't think we know we're doing it.
I think if we saw it, you would stop it.
The sentence waking up.
Yeah.
But I don't think we know what we're thinking about, what we're thinking about. Because if we did if we did become aware and just listen to ourselves, like, why am I thinking that? It's almost laughable, some of the stuff we think about or some of the strain we cause ourselves.
Yep.
I mean, that we can have a whole conversation about that because I just don't think there's an answer. Well, some of the people walking through that time I've literally had something horrific gone on in their life.
Yep.
Maybe someone's just a bit out of falling out. Maybe someone just doesn't know. They're just cracking along, overwhelmed at what they got to do today. But it does seem to me the world seems there seems to be a lot of stress and a lot of friction.
Yeah.
In people, possibly.
Yeah.
A lot of mistrust as well.
I'm not really one to judge. I think I live in a nice little bubble of my own creation. Do you know that I think what you focus on grows too. Do you know? And
yeah.
One of the things that Ascension life has really taught me is focus on the good, focus on what you can do, focus on what you have. And so I do think you create your reality. That's what you kind of surround yourself in, and it's
100%. You create. That's how the brain works. You are creating a huge whatever you pay attention to. If you don't pay attention to something, it doesn't exist really, does it?
That's true. Yeah.
Your mind is always creating the reality in front of it. That's not to say if Mark just ran across and punched you in the face, I created that. No, that happened. There's different forces at play is how I choose to view it. There's the force of my mind almost, it's like a social media algorithm. It's just tuning in to what I engage with. That's what my mind does, doesn't it? And it gives me more of what I engage with. But there's also life is happening.
Oh, yeah.
And that's got its own, and other people have got their stuff going on. And that's what's, I can't, if you drop dead now, heaven forbid, it's not like, I think I created that in my own reality. It's like, no, that really happened. I'll just ignore it. It doesn't exist anymore.
It's just a thing.
Yeah. There's life is happening, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's, I suppose, the hard bit when life lifes us and we go,
yeah.
Like, this is not really what I wanted.
No. I really like that question, though. Is this happening to me or is it happening for me?
Yeah, you've touched upon that before. It's such a tough one. Do you think somebody's got to be in the place to hear that,
though?
God,
yeah. Absolutely.
Like you said. Yeah. Someone's just like, hey, so-and-so just died. Well, is this happening to you or for you? Like, shut up.
Yeah.
Something's going to be happening to you, carry on, asking me questions like that. We have to be ready, don't we, and open.
It's a choice you have to assume for yourself. It's not a choice you can bestow on someone else.
I like that.
It's a suggestion but once you embrace it, you go, I have no idea why this is happening, but it's a form of appreciation, isn't it? It's a form of active acceptance. I have no idea why.
What's active acceptance?
Well, I think just it's probably the reverse of the word active. It's being out of the way of the. So when we're noticing presence, there is no judgment. It is just Mark just ran over and punched me in the face. That's curious. What am I going to do about it? Probably run out the door. Get out of there. But it's the difference between actively thinking, this is terrible. Why is this happening to me? What can I do? Do you know
What did I do?
What did I do wrong? Oh, this is because the stars were aligned.
I must be a bad person.
Yeah.
I deserved that.
Yeah. All that stuff.
God, this is such a weird scenario we're talking about. I don't know. I can't imagine Mark actually running across and punch you in the face. And we're just, everyone's like, God, this Mark character, he sounds a real shit.
And I kind of fell into my own trap because I don't like talking about hypotheticals. Do you know?
Well, I'm sorry I did that to you.
Well, I started it. And when things are happening, it's so much easier to talk about, you know, because the mind can go, yeah, but what if Mark runs across the room, punches me in the face? And it's like...
But how often are people living like that? What if?
Yeah.
God, what if I go there and this happens? What if this doesn't happen?
Yeah.
We're all living like that, aren't we? In the what ifs, the hypotheticals, there has to be an element of that where you go, well, that's useful as a human being because we want to be prepared.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the living there. That's what I can't get it's the living there that I know I'm in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think kids are a wonderful way of highlighting that for you. Where they just, I can be sat, maybe ruminating. And I've touched on this a lot in the podcast. And I've got a good life and I like that. But we all ruminate things. I can be sat ruminating about something that's annoyed me, someone, I've seen something. I just look up and see my little boy there and you think, why am I ruminating about that?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's just there.
Mm-hmm.
And they're always doing something. They're always, you know, I think kids are much more in the now, aren't they?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just playing.
Yeah. And even when they get frustrated and angry, I think I used to be so scared of my own anger and suppress it because I thought it would go on forever. You know, if I let go into this, it's going to be a whirlwind that'll just never stop.
Mm.
And really with my daughter and my son, they get annoyed at me and then next minute they're hugging me. You know, it's all completely gone.
They send mixed signals, these kids.
I know.
Sort of, man.
But there's the emotion. It's like the emotional tsunami. It just comes and then it's gone. It's completely gone, clean. You know, that fire hose of free of I shouldn't or I should or what's the bit. You know,
there's no the mentally. They don't. We hold on mentally as human beings, don't we?
Yeah.
We keep it there. I've always a couple of things I've tried to do as a parent actually is just never try and stop how they feel.
Yeah.
If they're angry, it's like, you just be angry.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if they're unreasonable in their behavior, you might go, well, you know, maybe don't kick your mum.
Don't destroy the place.
Yeah. But it's okay, you're angry, I get it. Yeah. Or if they're sad, it's like, try not to make them happy. I suppose just knowing, when you do the line of work I do and knowing how we develop, you think, oh God, the last thing I want to do is create somebody who doesn't want to feel things.
Yeah.
Because they've been taught they shouldn't feel. And it's not that you're saying you shouldn't feel, but our very behavior around, you know, stops it, doesn't it? Yeah. No, I think if I was to sum up the ascension stuff, and we'll talk about this because you're here for 4 or 5 episodes, but if we talk about that, if I sum that up, one of the things it's given me, I talk about meditation a fair bit. I suppose I haven't the last few years. It's something you go, it's just part of my life.
Yeah.
But it's given me the ability to let go.
Yeah.
Much more effectively than previously.
Yeah.
And maybe to see things how they are. A bit cliche, but not how I am in the moment. Because we often look at life as we see it as we are, don't we? Not how it is very often. But I think just taking that time, and I truly believe it's a wonderful habit that if people got just into a little bit, they would see dramatic improvements down the line. You don't often know. It's one of those things. It's not like you take a pill and you go, wow, God, I'm so present. It's like changed my life. But you kind of builds up, and you notice when maybe you haven't been as consistent with that practice. You go, ooh, life feels a bit stickier.
Yeah. Yeah, you can. I think you can feel the mental what ifs getting on top of you.
Yeah. Without a doubt. Well, Arjuna, I'm gonna roll it there. I think it was a beautiful conversation.
Well, thank you.
50 minutes. You're obviously back in for the next 3 or 4 episodes, and I'm excited to talk about some cool stuff. But
Yeah.
no, I've enjoyed that. I've enjoyed that a lot. Just from my own perspective.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, I'm a bit concerned that Mark might run and punch me one day because of my timing. But
until he
fancy a
does,
chance.
don't worry about it.
Yeah. Until it happens.
Just make sure there's a few cameras in the way.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Right, folks, thank you very much for tuning in. Next week, Arjuna's back and we're going to be talking about all sorts of crazy stuff. Until then, have a wonderful, wonderful day.